What is up, guys? It is Mercules here, and I just made a commentary talking about some changes that I would make if I were able to in Halo 4. And because that gameplay was pretty short, I didn't get to go as in depth as I would have liked. So I decided I would make a whole nother commentary focusing specifically on what I would do if 343 came to me and they were like, Mercules, change anything you want about Halo 4. Try to make it a better game. What would you do? And so I've pretty much gotten all my thoughts written down. It took me a while to organize everything, but I've come up with an extremely comprehensive list of things that I would change, and I jokingly kind of refer to this to myself as my list of demands for 343. But it's not really so funny when you look at it because Halo 4 is extremely close to dead. I mean, there was like 45,000 people online tonight when I was playing, and at the same time last year, Reach was pulling like 90,000 people on a weekday at night around like 9:30. And for comparison, Black Ops 2 has about 500,000 people online. So Halo 4 has a very, very real chance of just completely collapsing as far as multiplayer goes. And the reason for that, I believe, is that 343 did kind of what I was scared they were going to do, and they tried to mix it a little bit too much with Call of Duty. Halo Reach did it a bit, putting in Bloom and loadouts and such, but they didn't go, full retard. And 343 has gone extremely close to full retard. And what we have now is kind of an abomination, like a 60-40 Halo to COD game. And the thing that happened is they didn't pull any fans from COD, because if you want a game that's like COD, you're just going to go play Call of Duty. And not only that, but they actually drove away about 50% of the remaining Halo fans that there were. And you know, I kind of feel like what they wanted to do was, play a little bit of game of follow the leader, and that's not really what needed to happen. At this point, Halo needed to reestablish itself as a different type of first-person shooter, as its own type of first-person shooter, and it didn't do that. So I've come up with a list of things that I would change about the game, a very comprehensive list. But the funny thing is most of the things aren't complicated. Most of the things can be done in Forge. A few of them would require some significant changes on 343's part. But what I hope to happen is I hope that if enough people in the community hear this and like my suggestions, even some of them, not necessarily all of them, we can get this video to, get noticed maybe by 343. And 343 really has to do what we want at this point, because they can't turn their back on anyone in the community. The community is so small and so fragile at this point in time that they kind of need to listen to our demands and say, all right, we messed up Halo 4, but we're going to fix it. We're going to try to bring you guys back. So, again, these are just my ideas, but I think that they're pretty good ideas. And the first thing is the biggest thing, and I believe the thing that every single person in the Halo community would agree with me. We need a 1 to 50 true skill ranking system. We need it. It is necessary. Part of the reason why I believe Halo Reach was not as popular as Halo 3 is that it didn't have the 1 to 50 true skill ranking system. And Halo 4, I really honestly thought they were going to bring it back, and when they didn't, I thought maybe they'd release it with the title update, and they didn't do that either. So to me, we really, really need a 1 to 50 true skill ranking system. As it stands, all we have are social playlists, but at the same time, the social playlists still try to match you up based on skill. So for me, I go into a game of Team Slayer, I get pitted against 4 tryhards. I have to play the most competitive game of my life every single time I try to play. Kids sit behind corners with DMRs and just play tactically. The only thing I ever hear out of people's mics in a social game of Team Slayer are callouts and cursing. That's pretty much it. And then sack taps, obviously come every single time you let one of them kill you, because they're just tryhards and that's what they do. I mean, I've gone into games of big team before where 8 out of the 16 people have had kill to death ratios over 2. That is just ridiculous. That should not be happening unless you're playing in a ranked environment. So that brings me to my next point. I want distinguishing ranked and social playlist. I want 2 separate things that I can go under, and if I play ranked, I will be playing people of similar skill, and if I play social, I will just be playing a random slice of the Halo population. And I've actually come up with a list of ranked playlists that I would like to see implemented in the game, and the same thing with social, but I'm going to go over the ranked ones first. And these playlists harken back to the Halo 3 days, back when I think Halo was at its heyday. And the first one is going to be Lone Wolves, which would just be 6-player free-for-all. The second one would be Team Slayer, a 4v4 variant of Slayer, as we all know and love from Halo 3. Then Team Objective, also 4v4. Team SWAT and Team Snipers, both 4v4. Team Doubles, obviously 2v2. And then, because we no longer have MLG, but I would still like to see a competitive ranked playlist, I would like to have an AGL setting 4v4 ranked playlist. And then Squad Battles, which would just be the ranked version of Big Team Battles in 6v6. Moving on to the social playlist, I would like to see Rumble Pit, 8-player free-for-all. Social Slayer moved back to 5v5. That I feel like is crucial to the social environment, because Social Slayer in Halo 3 was fun. You could just run around and goof around and mess around. Then they moved it to 4v4 in Halo Reach, and it just became altogether too tactical, and it wasn't, something you could play and relax anymore. Like, Social Slayer used to just be able to go into Social Slayer and have a good time and not have to worry about anything, not necessarily try so hard to win. When it became 4v4, it's far too tactical to that. 5v5 is kind of more like a goof off and have fun playlist. And Social Skirmish, which would also be 5v5. Multi-Team, which I think should be 6 teams of 2, but really as long as they put the playlist back in there, I could care less what it is. 4 teams of 2, 5 teams of 2, 6 teams of 2, 4 teams of 3. I would prefer 6 teams of 2 out of all of those, but hey, who am I to, beggars can't be choosers. Then Big Team Battle, which would obviously be 8v8. And then we've got Action Stack 4v4, Griffball 4v4, and Living Dead 6v6. And I know you're saying to me, well, what about Regicide and Dominion, the 2 new game types that 343 introduced? Well, in all likelihood, or in all honesty, I don't see why those things need to be their own playlist. For me, Regicide would just be a game type that you vote on in any of the free-for-all playlists, much like Oddball and King of the Hill are right now. You would just vote on Slayer, Oddball, King of the Hill, or Regicide in the free-for-all playlist, and it wouldn't be a big deal. You'd still get to play Regicide, but you wouldn't have to play it all the time. And the same thing with Dominion. Dominion would just be a game type, like Capture the Flag, like Assault, in the Big Team Battle and Squad Battles playlist, and I think that would fit in rather nicely there. And then you're also saying, I can already hear it, but what about the Infinity Slayer playlist? What about personal ordinances? What about, instant spawns, join in progress kill cams? Well, my original idea that I had was I would just get rid of Infinity Slayer altogether, and personal drops would not be a part of the game. Join in progress, kill cams, instant spawn, none of that would be a part of the game at all. Well, I'm still definitely in favor of getting rid of join in progress and kill cams. I think those 2 things are useless and don't need to be in there. But as far as Infinity Slayer goes, with the instant spawns and the personal ordinances, the best way I've found to deal with that is you just make Infinity Slayer a game type, just like I did Dominion, just like I did Regicide. Infinity Slayer doesn't need to be its own playlist. And then when you go into Lone Wolves, Team Slayer, Team Double, Squad Battle, or their social counterparts, Rumble Pit, Social Slayer, Multi-Team, or Big Team Battle, Infinity Slayer would just be a game type that you would get to vote on some of the times. So that way you don't have to always worry necessarily about personal ordinances and how ridiculously random they are, and how sometimes 4 people will have a sniper rifle and, you'll get pulse grenades or something like that, because you wouldn't have to play it all the time. It would just be something that would only be played if you voted on it. I think that would be a really good way to still keep Infinity Slayer in Halo 4, but it wouldn't force you necessarily to deal with instant spawns and personal ordnance all the time. So that's just what I think, but like I said, I would still get rid of the join in progress and kill cams, because I don't like either of those at all. That also deals for me with the problem of personal ordnance. Like I said, you're not going to have it in most of the playlist, you're not going to have it in most of the game types, but still having it in one game type wouldn't even be all that bad. Now on to another problem that I see with Halo 4, random weapon spawns. This to me is an extremely easy problem to solve, and it is something that needs to be solved. Random weapon spawns are not good for the Halo game. One of the major facets of Halo has always been weapon control, along with map control. And when you add in random weapon spawns, you completely take away weapon control. I mean, that seems like such a no-brainer that you shouldn't do that in a Halo game. So, just to me, weapon spawns need to be set like they have been in every single Halo game ever up until this point. Now we're on to a couple of the more minor changes to the game, but still changes that I feel like should be done. I feel like Bloom and Recoil need to be removed from the game. I think Bloom was a failed experiment in Halo Reach, and it was proven that you can just modify the timing of how a weapon fires, and you don't need to have Bloom. So I think Bloom should just be gotten rid of. I think Recoil, I mean, you can't even tell in the BR anyways that there's Recoil. I think Recoil should be gotten rid of. I feel like the game would be much simpler if you could just spam away the trigger like you could in Halo 1, 2, and 3, and it would be completely fine. You know, that's just what I think. And then I would take away flinch and I would bring back getting knocked out of scope when you get shot. I don't even see why they changed this in the first place, honestly, but I would get rid of flinch, bring back getting knocked out of scope. To me, that's just the best thing that can be done in this situation. And then the very last one, just a personal preference, get rid of invisibility as an armor ability, please. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you agree with me, and remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more.